Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the Arithmetic with Negative Numbers practice questions. So they're the practice questions that involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division involving negative numbers. If you need any extra help on addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division with negative numbers, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents and scroll down to videos 205, 206, and 207, those video tutorials will go through how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide negative numbers. And I'm going to presume that you've watched those videos and you're aware of how to multiply, divide, add and subtract negative numbers before we do these questions. But let's go through the video solutions to these practice questions. So let's get started. So question number one. Question number one says, write down the number that is 3 less than 2. So we could count down 3 numbers from 2, so that'll be 1, 0, negative 1. So the answer is going to be negative 1. Alternatively, we could say, well, if it's 3 less than 2, that's going to be 2 subtract 3. And 2 subtract 3, well, that's 3 less than 2, so that'll be negative 1. And that's it. So the answer is negative 1. Question number 2. Question number 2a says, write down the number that is 4 less than 1. So it's going to be 1 subtract 4. That's 4 less than 1. So if we had 1 and we take away 4, well, that would be 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So the answer would be negative 3. So that's it, negative 3. Part B says, write down the number that is 2 more than negative 8. So 2 more than negative 8 would be negative 8 plus 2. So we're going to go back up 2, so that'll be negative 7, negative 6. So the answer would be negative 6. Okay, let's have a look at question number 3. Question number 3 says, circle the number that is 5 less than negative 9. So that's negative 9 take away 5. That's 5 less than negative 9. So let's go down 5 from negative 9. So it's going to be negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14. So the answer would be negative 14. It's definitely not 14 or 4, and it's not negative 4 because we're not going back up 5. We're going down another 5. We're going 5 less than negative 9. So it's going to be negative 14. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 4. So question number 4 says, circle the answer to 6 subtract 8. So if we get 6 and we take away 8, well, taking away 6 from 6 would bring us to 0. We've still got another 2 to take away, so that would be negative 2. So 6 take away 8 would be negative 2, because if we go down 6, that brings us down to 0, but we're going to go down another 2, so that'll be negative 2. So that would be negative 2. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 5. Question number 5 says, write down the answer to 3 subtract 7. So 3 subtract 7, well, it's going to be a negative number because if we have 7 less than 3, it's going to be negative. And let's work out what it's going to be. Well, 3 take away 3 is 0. So we've got another 4 to take away because we're taking away 7. So that would be going down another 4 from 0 would be negative 4. So the answer is negative 4 because 3 take away 7 is negative 4. Okay, our next part, we've been asked to write down the answer to negative 4 take away 5. So that's 5 less than negative 4. So we're going to go on down. So it's going to be negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9. So the answer would be negative 9. And that's it. So the answer is negative 9 or minus 9. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 6. So question number 6 says, work out negative 8 plus 3. So that means 3 more than minus 8. So we're going to go back up 3. So that'll be minus 7, minus 6, minus 5. So the answer would be minus 5. So the answer is minus 5. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 7. So question number 7 says, in February, the highest temperature in Ballycastle was 11 degrees Celsius. In February, the lowest temperature in Ballycastle is 20 degrees lower than the highest temperature. Work out the lowest temperature in Ballycastle in February. So the lowest temperature is 20 degrees lower than its highest temperature. Now its highest temperature is 11, so we're going to do 11, the highest temperature, take away 20 to work out 20 degrees lower than 11 degrees. So let's work out what we would get. So if we've got 11 and we take away 20, well 11 take away 11 would be 0, and we've got another 9 to take away, so it'll be minus 9. So the answer would be minus 9 degrees Celsius. And that's it. So what I've done there is I've started at 11, I've gone down another 11 to get to 0, and then we've got another 9 to go down, so it'll be negative 9 or minus 9. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. Okay, let's have a look at question number 8. So question number 8 says, Daisy's bank account balance is minus £14. Daisy deposits £35 in the bank account. Work out Daisy's new bank account balance. So in this question, Daisy's bank account balance to begin with is minus £14. That means she's in her overdraft. She's overdrawn. So whenever you're overdrawn or in your overdraft, that means you owe the bank some money, and she owes the bank £14. Now she puts £35 into the bank account. So she's got minus £14 to begin with, and she adds £35 into the bank account. So we need to work out what minus 14 add 35 would be. So if we were at minus 14 and we add 35, well, if we add 14 to begin with, that would bring us to 0. Now we've got 35 to add, and if we add 14, that leaves us a number 21. So minus 14 plus 35 would be 21. And just to show that, if we had minus 14 pound or minus 14, if we add 14 to begin with, so adding 14 will bring us to 0. Now we're adding 35, so we've got another 21 to add, so add another 21, that would bring us to 21 pound. So Daisy's new bank account balance will be 21 pound. That now means Daisy's got 21 pound in the bank and she doesn't owe the bank any more money. Okay, let's have a look at question number 9. So question number 9 says, write down the number that is, and then we've got some questions, A, B, C, and so on. So we've got minus 2 multiplied by 7. So we're going to do minus 2 multiplied by 7. So minus 2 multiplied or times by 7. So we've got a negative number times a positive number. So a negative times a positive is a negative. So our answer will be negative. We know that straight away. Now 2 times 7 is 14. So minus 2 times 7 will be minus 14. So the answer would be minus 14. And just remember your rules, that a positive times a positive is a positive times a negative is a negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, part B. Part B says work out negative 8 multiplied by negative 3, so that's minus 8 multiplied by minus 3. So we've got a negative times a negative, so it's a positive, and 8 times 3 is 24. So the answer will just be 24. Let's look at part C. Part C says to work out minus 10 or negative 10 divided by 5. So we've got a negative divided by positive, and a negative divided by positive will be a negative. And then 10 divided by 5 is 2. So negative 10 divided by 5 would be negative 2. So the answer would be negative 2. Negative 10 divided by 5 would be negative 2. And then part D says to work out negative 12 divided by negative 2. Well, negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the answer would just be 6. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Question number 10. Question number 10 says to circle the answer to negative 4 multiplied by negative 4. So we've got a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive, so it's going to be one of these two. It's not going to be negative 8 or negative 16. And 4 times 4 is 16. So that means that negative 4 times negative 4 would be positive 16. So the answer would be 16. And that's it. Okay, question 11. Question 11 says to write down the answer to negative 2 multiplied by negative 7. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and then 2 times 7 is 14. So the answer would be 14. Part B says to work out 21 divided by negative 7. Well, a positive divided by a negative would be a negative, and then we've got 21 divided by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3, so 21 divided by negative 7 will be negative 3. So the answer would be negative 3. Okay, part C. Part C says to work out negative 100 divided by negative 4. Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So the answer will just be 25. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 12. So 12a says work out negative 54 divided by negative 9. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive, and 54 divided by 9 is 6. So the answer will just be 6. And part B says to work out 8 multiplied by negative 4. Well, a positive times a negative is a negative, and 8 times 4 is 32, so 8 times negative 4 would be negative 32. So the answer would be negative or minus 32. Okay, our next question. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Question number 13. So we've got 13a, work out negative 3 multiplied by 12. Well, a negative times a positive is a negative, and 3 times 12 is 36. So that means that negative 3 times 12 would be negative 36, so minus 36. And part B says to work out negative 6 multiplied by negative 7. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and 6 times 7 is 42. So the answer would just be 42. Okay, question number 14. Question number 14 says to circle the answer to 12 plus negative 3. Now, when we add a negative number, well, when we add a positive, the number gets bigger. When we add a negative, it gets smaller. Or another way to think of it, when we're adding a negative, we just take away. So we're going to do 12 take away 3. And 12 take away 3 would be 9. And that's the same as considering if you add negative 3, rather than going up 3, you're going to go down 3. And the answer would be 9. So to circle the answer to 12 plus negative 3, the answer would be 9. Okay, question number 15. So question number 15a says, work out each of the following. So we've got 7 subtract negative 4. Now, when we take away a positive number, so something gets smaller. When we subtract a negative, it gets bigger. So we've got 7 subtract negative 4. That's going to be the same as 7 plus 4, because when we subtract a negative, it gets bigger. So 7 plus 4 is 11. So the answer would be 11. Part B says to work out negative 2, add negative 3. So we're at negative 2, and we're going to add negative 3. When we add a positive, we go up, it gets bigger. When we add a negative, it gets smaller. So we're going to do negative 2 take away 3. And negative 2 take away 3, well, if we go down 3 from negative 2, that would be negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So this would be negative 5. And just to recap, we had negative 2 plus negative 3. So when we're adding a negative, we're going to go down. So we're going to go down 3 from negative 2, and that's negative 5. And that's it, so negative 5. Okay, part C. Okay, let's have a look at part C. So part C, we've been asked to work out negative 6 subtract negative 8. So we're at negative 6. And we're going to subtract, and we're not subtracting a positive number, so we're not going down. We're subtracting a negative, which means we're going to go up. So it means we're at negative 6, and we're going to go up 8. So that's the same as negative 6 plus 8, because we're subtracting a negative. So negative 6 plus 8, well, negative 6 plus 8 would be, well, adding 6 would bring us to 0, and then we've got another 2, so that'll be 2. So negative 6 subtract negative 8 would be equal to 2, and that's it. And just remembering that when we subtract a negative, we're going up 8 from negative 6, so negative 6 plus 8 would be 2, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 16, and we've been asked to work out 10 subtract negative 2. Now, when we subtract a negative, it goes back up, so we're going to do 10 plus 2, and 10 plus 2 is equal to 12. So the answer would be 12. Okay, our next question, question number 17. So question number 17 says work out negative 12 plus negative 7. So we're adding a negative number. So instead of going up, we're going to go down. So we're going to do take away. And we've got negative 12 take away 7. And negative 12 take away 7, well, going down another 7 from negative 12 would bring us down to negative 19. And the answer would be negative 19. And that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 18. So question number 18a says, work out 3 multiplied by negative 13. So we've got a positive times a negative, and a positive times a negative is a negative. And 3 times 13 is 39. So 3 times minus 13 would be minus 39. So the answer is minus 39. Okay, part B. Part B says to work out minus 48 divided by minus 8. So we've got a negative divided by a negative, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And 48 divided by 8 is 6. So the answer would just be 6. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 19. And we've been asked to complete the following. So we've got A, B, C, and D, and we've got to fill in these missing numbers. So question A, 19a says to work out 20 divided by something is equal to negative 4. We've got a positive number and we've got a negative answer. Now, positive divided by a negative is a negative. It can't be a positive number in here because a positive divided by a positive would be a positive. So this is going to be a negative number. And then we've got 20 divided by something would be negative 4. Well, 20 divided by 5 is 4. So 20 divided by negative 5 would be negative 4. So that's going to be negative 5. And that's it. Okay, part B. Part B, we've got negative 7 subtract something is equal to negative 10. So we're at negative 7 and we want to get to negative 10. So that means we want to go down 3. So that means we just need to subtract 3. So negative 7 take away 3 should be negative 10. And let's just check. Negative 7, if we go down 3, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. And that brings us to minus 10. So that means that we are going to be taking away 3. Part C. Part C, we've got 5 plus something is equal to 0. Now, if we've got 5 and we're adding something to it and we're going to get to 0, that means we're going to be adding a negative number because we're going back down. So it can be a negative. So 5 plus negative something is equal to 0. Now, if we're at 5 and we want to go down to 0, we're going to want to go down 5. So it's going to be 5 plus negative 5. And 5 plus negative 5, well, it's going to be the same as 5 take away 5, which is 0. So that's it. So 5 add negative 5 would bring us to 0. Okay, next, D, we've got negative 6 multiplied by something is equal to 36. Now 36 is positive, so a negative times a negative would be a positive. And 6 times 6 is 36, so negative 6 times negative 6 would be 36. So this would have to be negative 6. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 20. So let's start off with A. So we've got 5 subtract 8 plus 1. So 5 subtract 8 is negative 3 because 5 take away 5 is 0. So 5 take away 8 will be negative 3. And we've still got our plus 1. So we've got minus 3 plus 1. So that means we're going to be at minus 3 and we're going to go up 1. So it will be minus 2. So if we have 5 subtract 8 plus 1, that's going to be 5 subtract 8 is negative 3 plus 1 will be negative 2. So the answer is negative 2. Okay, part B. Part B, we've got 7 subtract 9 subtract 2. So 7 subtract 9, 7 take away 9 is minus 2 because 7 take away 9 is minus 2. And then we've still got another subtract 2. So we've got minus 2 or negative 2 subtract 2. So that means going down another 2 would be minus 4. So it'll be minus 3 and then minus 4. So the answer is minus 4. And finally, part C. Part C, we've been asked to work out negative 10 plus 3 plus 13. So if we have negative 10 and we add 3, we're going to go back up 3. So it's going to be negative 9, negative 8, negative 7. So we've got negative 7, and we've still got our plus 13. And then we've got negative 7 plus 13. So we're at negative 7, and then we need to go up 13. So if we added 7, we would get to 0. We've still got another 6 to add. So that means our answer would be 6. And that means our answer is 6. Okay, let's have a look at question number 21. So Emily has the following cards: negative 1, negative 4, 2, negative 6, 4, and 5. And Emily's going to choose 2 of the cards, and she's going to multiply the numbers on them. And we've been asked which card should Emily choose to make the largest possible answer. So we want to find the largest possible answer. So if we want to find the largest possible answer, just remember a positive times a positive is a positive, but also a negative times a negative is a positive. So let's consider a positive times a positive, figure out what the largest possible result we could get for multiplying 2 positives. And then let's consider 2 negatives and see what's the largest possible answer you can get whenever we multiply 2 negatives together, and see which one of those is going to be the best answer. So we then find, and that'll tell us which cards Emily should choose. So let's start off with the largest answer we can get when we multiply 2 positives. So the positive numbers are 2, 4, and 5. So the largest 2 we can multiply are 4 and 5. So 4 multiplied by 5 is equal to 20. So if we had 4 times 5, that's 20. Now let's consider the negatives. So we've got negative 4 and negative 6. So if we do negative 4 multiplied by negative 6, let's see what we get. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 times 6 is 24. So that means that negative 4 times negative 6 would be 24. And that's larger. That's the largest possible result we could get, the largest possible answer. So what card should Emily choose? She should choose negative 4 and negative 6. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 22. And we've been asked to fill in these missing numbers here, here, and here. So let's start off with part A. Part A is blank plus 2 is equal to negative 1. So we've got a certain number, and when we add 2 to it, when we go up 2, we get to negative 1. So that means if we go down 2, we can figure out what this number would be. So let's go down 2. So that'll be negative 2, negative 3. So that means this number must be negative 3. And let's just check it. If we have negative 3 and we add 2, we're going to go back up 2. So negative 2, negative 1. So that means that this number must be negative 3. Part B, we've got 8 plus something is equal to 0. Now we've got 8, which is a positive number, and we're adding something to it, and we're going to get to 0. That means this must be a negative number, because when we add a negative, we go back down. Now we're at 8, and we want to get down to 0. That means we want to go back down 8. So that means we're going to do 8 add negative 8. And 8 add negative 8 would be 0. Okay, now part C. Part C, we've got negative 8 subtract something is equal to 3. Now if we're at negative 8 and we subtract something, well, you'd imagine if we're subtracting a positive number, we're going to go down. But we've got an answer of 3. That means we've gone back up. That means we're going to be subtracting a negative number. And if we're at negative 8 and we want to go up to 3, we want to go up 11, because we want to go up 8 to get to 0 and then another 3. So that means we're going to be subtracting negative 11, because negative 8 subtract negative 11 would be equal to 3. And let's just check it. Negative 8 minus minus, that'd be minus 8 plus 11, which is equal to 3. So that means that the missing number here was negative 11. Okay, let's have a look at question number 23. So question number 23, we've been asked to fill in the missing numbers. So we've got 2 multiplied by something is equal to negative 16. Well, we've got a negative answer, and we've got a positive number here. So positive times a negative would be a negative. So this has to be negative. And we've got 2 times something will give us negative 16. Well, 2 times 8 is 16. So 2 times minus 8 would be minus 16. So that means that this has to be negative 8 or minus 8. Okay, part B. Part B, we've got minus 1 times something is equal to 2. Well, we've got a negative times something is a positive. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so this has to be negative. Now, 1 times 2 is equal to 2. So minus 1 times minus 2 would be equal to 2, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and 1 times 2 is equal to 2. So the missing number here is minus 2. Okay, part C. Part C, we've got blank multiplied by negative 7 is equal to 42. Well, we've got a negative number times something is a positive. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so this has to be negative. Now, we want to get 42. Well, 6 times 7 is 42, so this will be negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 7 would be equal to 42, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, part D. Part D, we've got blank divided by 3 is equal to minus 15. Well, we've got something divided by a positive is a negative. Well, that's going to have to be a negative, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So this has to be a negative number. Now we want to find what number do we divide by 3 to get minus 15. So if we had 3 and we multiply by 15, 3 times 15 would be equal to 15 plus 15 is 30, plus another 15 is 45. So that means that 45 divided by 3 is equal to 15. Now that means that negative 45 divided by 3 would be negative 15, because a negative divided by positive is a negative, so this has to be negative 45. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 24. And A says to work out -3 squared. Now remember, squared means to multiply something by itself. So we've got -3 multiplied by itself. So that's -3 multiplied by -3. And a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. So -3 times a -3 is 9. So that means that -3 squared is 9. And so if you square a negative number, you're going to get a positive answer. So -3 squared would be equal to 9. Okay, next, part B. Part B says to work out -2 cubed. So remember, to cube something, you multiply by itself and by itself again. So that means that we've got -2 multiplied by -2 multiplied by -2. So let's start off by working out the first two. -2 times -2. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 2 is 4. So these two multiplied together will be 4. So we've got 4, but we've still got to multiply that by -2. So we're going to then multiply by -2. And 4 times -2, we've got a positive times a negative, and a positive times a negative is a negative, and 4 times 2 is 8. So our answer would be -8. And let's just check that. -2 times -2, well, negative times negative is a positive, 2 times 2 is 4, so that's going to be 4. And then we're multiplying that by -2, so a positive times a negative is a negative, and 4 times 2 is 8. So the answer would be -8. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 25. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 25. So question number 25 says, Amina thinks of a number, so she thinks of a number, and she adds 20 to her number. So she's going to add 20, and the result is negative, so the result is negative. Write down a possible number that Amina could have started with. So we need to figure out what number Amina started with so that whenever she added 20, she still gets a negative number. So if the number that she started with was positive to begin with, so let's just say Amina chose the number 1 and she added 20, that means we're going to go up 20. So that means that's going to be equal to 21, and that's obviously not negative. If Amina started with 0, 0 add 20 is equal to 20. So that means that Amina's number to begin with would have to be negative, but if it was a number such as -5 and she added 20, -5 plus 20 would be equal to, well, -5 plus 5 is 0. We've still got another 15, so that's equal to 15, and that's not negative either. If Amina chose the number -20 and then she adds 20, well, if she chose -20 and she adds 20, that's going to bring her to 0, and that's not negative either. But if Amina chose any number below -20, it will work, because if she has any number below -20, such as -23, and she adds 20, but she won't reach 0, so -23 plus 20 would be -3, and that's a negative. So Amina could have chosen any number that is below -20. So she could have even chosen -87, because -87 plus 20 is equal to -67, which is negative. And we're just asked to choose a possible number that Amina could have started with, and as long as you choose one that is below -20, it will work. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 26. Okay, let's have a look at our last question, question number 26. So question number 26 says, Dan wants to calculate the square of -25, and his calculator display is shown below. So we've got Dan's calculator display, and he's trying to square -25, and he's got an answer of -625, or -625. Now remember, a negative multiplied by a negative will always be positive. So that means that whenever Dan's squaring -25, that means a negative times itself, so that's a negative times a negative, so he should get a positive answer. Now, I actually get this quite a lot whenever students try to square a negative number on their calculator. They'll sometimes ask me, sir, why I've got a negative answer should be a positive answer. And the reason is, whenever you square a negative number on your calculator, you should put brackets around it. So Dan should type in, he should open up his brackets, type in his -25, close brackets, and then press the squared button. And whenever Dan types that in and presses equal, he'll get an answer of 625, not -625. And this is a calculator question you could try it yourself. If you type in -25 squared like Dan did and press equals, you'll get -625. Perhaps because the calculator is considering the order of operations and is maybe doing the squaring first before then doing a subtraction. Whereas if you put in your brackets and do in brackets -25 close brackets squared, the calculator will know that you're squaring -25, so it'll do -25 times itself, and you'll get an answer of 625. So whenever you're squaring a negative number on a calculator, it's very important to put your brackets in. So let's explain that. And that's it. So I've just written down, Dan did not include brackets. That's his mistake. And he should have typed in -25 in brackets squared. And the answer would be 625. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the Arithmetic with Negative Numbers practice questions. So that's the practice questions that involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division involving negative numbers. If you need any extra help on those topics, if you go to Corbettmaths.com/contents and scroll down to videos 205, 206, and 207, there's video tutorials there on adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing with negative numbers. Alternatively, you could scan this QR code. But I really hope you find this video useful. If you have found it useful, if you could please like it and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'd be absolutely amazing. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.